Hey there. Today we're going to be talking about a really common question. In fact, we've even talked a little bit about this question here in the Facebook group, but I thought it'd be really cool to have a video to go into more detail. And the question is, should you charge per page for WordPress development? And there's some interesting thoughts as to why that might be a good idea. And so we're going to talk about what those are. We're going to talk about some ideas or some things to look out for if you do decide to charge per page for your WordPress websites. And then we'll also talk about why charging per page might not be the most effective way to maximize your revenue and your profits when you're building WordPress sites. So thanks so much for joining in, and it's great being on this group. I love seeing the growth that we're having. If you're new to the group, go ahead and make sure you click that notifications button, so every time we go live or post a message or something like that into the group, you'll get a notification about it. And if you want to follow along with the video replays, like if you can't make these videos, I republish them again on the website, and we send out emails by way of, hey Rick, how are you? By way of email. So you can head over to doublestack.net / I forget what the slash is, but if you go over to doublestack.net, you'll see a big form where you can sign up for the email list and get these videos so that you can stay in the loop. So should you charge per page for WordPress development? So this is an interesting thing. And the reason it's interesting is because sometimes you think that, well, it would be really nice if I could charge per page because it's easier to sell with look at all those things coming up on the screen, because it would be easier to sell to the client, because the client could be like, you could say, you know what, if you want a 5-page website, it's $100 a page, and I'll charge $500 for that. And then they could say, hey, you know what, I want to add another page, and that's going to be another $100. So it's easy to like get that really simple formula into your client's mind so that you can better sell your services. And that's certainly one of the pros for charging per page. And another one is, a lot of times hourly rates are really touchy. So, you know, everyone that is a WordPress developer, like all of us, we know that hourly rates don't really mean anything because nobody knows how many hours anything is going to take. And that's one of the issues for charging per page for a website. It's a discrete amount of work in the client's mind for what they're going to get. So one page, $100, or whatever the rate is per page. But you can't say I can build a page every hour. So it's much harder to say, you know, one hour is going to be $85 or whatever your hourly rate is, because the client doesn't know what an hour gets them. And so when you say, you know, our rate's $85 an hour, then, you know, what does that mean to the client? And on top of that, how fast do you work? Are you as fast as the other person they paid $85 an hour to? Or what if you say, I charge $150 an hour and the other guy charged just $50 an hour, but you work 3 times as fast? So like when you say an hourly rate to a client, they just price it based on the hourly rate from some other proposal that they got or whatever. So it's really, really hard, especially if you're good at what you do, to charge by an hourly rate. And so sometimes it's better to say, you know, it's going to be $100 a page, and you just know that maybe it takes you on average to build a page, you know, maybe it takes about 1 hour to build a page. Well, now you've suddenly raised your hourly rate from $85 to $100 without having to say, I'm now charging $100 per hour. So that's a thing to do. That's a thing to think about with regard to charging per page for WordPress websites. One of the downsides, though, is you don't know that it's going to take an hour per page, because like some pages, like say for example, you just need to, you know, spin up a contact page with a contact form for, you know, somebody's website. I mean, that takes way less than an hour. I mean, you could just put a quick form on there. You could, especially like if you're using Happy Forms or Gravity Forms or Ninja Forms or whatever, I mean, you can do that in like 5 minutes. You know, so you don't have to do anything really, you know, just put the form on there and you're almost done. And then on top of that, if you are, what if it's like a really complicated page? Like what if it's a really long page and you've got to like figure out how to do like, you know, hey, look, it's Steve. Hey, Steve, $1,200 base price plus $200 per page, minimum 5 pages. Yeah, that's a formula that people have great formulas for putting together, you know, pricing that, you know, so clients can kind of get in their heads what it's actually going to cost to build these sites. But here's one of the things, not all pages look the same. You know, some pages have way more content than other pages, and some pages have really complex layouts. And so like generally speaking, at a minimum, you tend to have a homepage design, which tends to look different from all the other pages. And then you oftentimes have an interior page design. But then on top of that, you might also have other kinds of page designs too. So, you know, the design of the page is more critical when you're pricing out the site than necessarily the number of pages. Because if you can reuse the same layout and the client's already got the copy written, then all you have to do is basically copy and paste the copy into the layout, and you can crank out pages really fast. But if it's one of those situations where you're like making landing pages, for example, where maybe somebody's going to run a webinar, or maybe there's some kind of a, I don't know what, you know, whatever you might put on a landing page to talk about a particular product or something like that, the layout of the page could be dramatically different from any of the other pages on the site. And so now you got to design the page, and that's going to take more time than if you didn't have to design the page. So so to kind of to wrap up this part of my thoughts on this is, it's kind of a cool idea to be able to make a formula so people know what the cost of the website is up front and sort of compare you to other people based on a price per page. But the downside is you don't know necessarily how long it's going to take you to build the page, because the layout of the page could change, and you know the amount of content on the page could change, how many pictures you need to put on the page could change. And this is another thing, this is another expense that you might have if you have to go out and source, you know, art or pictures or whatever. You know, if there's going to be a lot of pictures and you got to go get a lot of pictures for that, then you can't really know what the price of the page is, because you got to go buy some pictures. So there's that aspect of it as well. So okay, so that's the deal with the price per page thing, and it's sort of a way to mask your hourly rate. But whether you're charging an hourly rate or whether you're charging a price per page or any of those other things, the best way to calculate how much you should be charging has more to do with how much value you're going to be delivering. And so like in the Facebook group here, a couple of days ago, I was chatting with somebody about this very issue, about how much we charge per page. And I mentioned that, you know, the Card66 website has like, you know, not including the blog post, has like 5 pages, but it makes thousands and thousands of dollars every month off 5 pages. So how much are those pages worth compared to, you know, I've seen sites that have like 50 or more pages that don't make any money per month. And so like, how much are those pages worth? And so it's really hard to say, you know, what a page is worth, because it has more to do with your time and your effort than it has to do with what the client's going to get out of it. So now, having said that, before we move on to the next part, the important thing to note here is every one of us watching this probably understands that it takes time and effort and work and money to actually create a WordPress site. Whether you're doing it yourself, whether you're managing the project and outsourcing it, somebody has to do the work. And when you do the work, do you ever provide education for clients on adding their own page? Sometimes, yeah. I'll talk about that at the end. But the issue with the work is, the more pages there are, the more work it's going to take, and that's why it's tempting to say I either charge by hours or I charge by page, because that's going to cover your cost. And covering your cost is a big deal. Obviously, if you don't cover your cost, you go in the hole, and you can't stay in business if you're not making enough money to cover your costs. So it's critical to know how much time it's going to take to do something. But that shouldn't necessarily be the only thing that is contributing to the price of the project. So, for example, if you can help somebody figure out how to start generating, you know, $5,000, $10,000 per month off your website, that's a lot more valuable than if nobody generates any money off their website and they just have like this online business card with a contact form or something. So, so the issue is, of course, we have to know how much time it's going to take and how many, you know, what's the scope of the project is kind of what I'm trying to say. You have to know what the scope of the project is in order to get a rough estimate of what it's going to cost you to put it all together. And then that's a factor in contributing to what, you know, what you would charge overall for the website. Now, having said that, wouldn't it be more interesting to charge based on the value that you can provide for the client? And I know that's a really generic term. I know when people say it all the time, you know, you got to bring value. You've got to, you know, answer questions that other people haven't asked before or whatever. But for example, I was talking to a client yesterday, and they do family life coaching. and it looks like they have a really cool website, and it looks like they offer a really nice set of things that could really help people. Like how to do parenting stuff. Like if you have parenting issues, or if you are going through a maternity, like what do you do about that? Or husband and wife relationships, or maybe strained relationships between extended families or something like that. And these guys counsel about those types of things. And they also do webinars and instruction. They offer coaching. So there's a lot of cool stuff going on. And I'm looking at the website, and they needed some help, like updating a price or whatever on their site. And it's just like a little 5-minute little thing to do. And I just did it for free. They're a Card 66 client, and we just do that. But then I said, if you ever need more help, updating your website, let me know. We can help you on an ongoing basis, so you don't have to fret about things like this, like changing prices or whatever. So then I dug deeper into the website, and I took a look, and I saw that what they were saying on the website didn't match up with what they could actually deliver. Now, I don't know them very well. They might. I don't know if they'll ever really want to become like a business consulting client of ours or not. But the point is, they were talking about their service in this generic way, like evidence-based approach to family dynamics or something like that. And like if I had a problem with my teenage daughter, for example, I wouldn't go onto Google and I wouldn't type, I need some evidence-based help for my family dynamics. That'd be the last thing that I would type. I would be like, how do I talk to my teenager when he's like only interested in Fortnite or something like that, or how do I handle a particular problem that I'm having? And it wouldn't be like this platitude, like how to get clarity on my family life situation. It's like, that's not what's on my mind. Like when I'm lying in bed up at night because I can't figure out how to connect with my teenager, then platitudes like that about how to get clarity in my family dynamics doesn't come to mind. And so and instead, or maybe if it's not a teenager, maybe you have a toddler or something like that, and you're trying to potty train them or something, then you need to be talking about the actual problems that people have in their heads and how you can solve them. Like, for example, how to potty train your toddler without bribing them. That would be a really nice thing to say. But if you go to the parenting page on this website, it doesn't say that. Or if it's the teenager concept that I was just talking about, it could be like how to talk to your teenager without having to sound cool, for example, or whatever. It's just like whatever the problem is that's on your mind as the actual person who needs the coaching. That's the kind of thing that you need to be talking about. So. And the reason that I kind of went kind of in depth on this particular scenario is because this is what I mean when I talk about bringing value to the client. Because if you can change the way they articulate their message, if you can build a web page that says something like how to talk to your teenager, or here's another one that just came to mind. What if you've got like a 12-year-old or a 13-year-old or something like that, and they're getting ready to go into high school or whatever age you are when you go to high school? What if you said something like, how to talk to your teenager about the pressures of high school without scaring them to death, or something along those lines? That's going to really resonate with people that want family life help. I mean, that's kind of like a problem that people are having, and it's not going to really resonate with somebody if they say something like, how do you get clarity on your family dynamics? That's not really on my mind at night when I'm worrying about things, So like if you can help people push their websites in this direction where you're articulating the message more clearly, and so this is kind of what I mean by adding value. It's like help people understand how to connect with their audience. And another big thing too is, who are you actually talking to? Like one of the issues on this site that I was just mentioning is they do two things. They seem to help like parents with actual coaching, but they also want to be like an online community for other family life coaches. So, they have an audience of coaches, they have an audience of parents. And so wouldn't it be nice if there was a clear path on the site for each of those two audience groups? So like if you're a coach, what do you want to tell me? If I'm a parent, what are you going to tell me? And to be able to find out, what are the issues? Like obviously the issues that coaches have are vastly different from the issues that parents have. They're on two opposite ends of the spectrum. The parents need the help, the coaches are providing the help. So if you can help people, get clarity on what they're talking about, how to like structure their website in a way that actually helps the people that they're trying to talk to find the information that they need. And I'm not talking about just putting a search box on the page. I'm talking about how do you speak to people in a way that's going to really resonate with the problem that they're having or the solution that they're seeking. And that's what I'm talking about. So like, if you build me a web page that talks about getting clarity on family dynamics, and it's a long web page and has lots of pictures in it and lots of text, it might take you 2 or 3 hours to build that. But it's not going to do anything, or it might do something, but it won't do nearly as much good for that business as if you took that same web page and started talking about how to potty train your toddler without bribing them, or how to prepare your teenager for high school without scaring them to death, or how to lead your high school student into a career path at college or whatever. Whatever the issue is, say what the thing is, and and then stack on the benefit that you can provide as a solution provider. And one of the really cool things about being in a job like ours, like a WordPress developers, is you get to meet people that do awesome stuff. They do really good stuff. So like in the event that you get a client and they show up and they go to the family training or whatever, they're probably going to get some pretty good help. But the problem that most of our clients have is they don't know how to deal with the internet in terms of sharing what they do in a way that resonates with the people they're trying to reach. And so that's what I'm talking about. So like, if you're just charging per page, or you just have an hourly rate, and you're saying that this is how long it's going to take me to build these pages, then you're not in the same category as someone who's going to say, let me help you think about what you're really trying to say, and let me help you restructure the flow of the traffic through your website, and let me help you articulate what the benefits are. What outcome is somebody going to get because they've hit your website? Now, and that's just the tippity top of the funnel, right? There's so much more you can do with, actually, like what we talked about last week, or one of the recent videos. I've done so many, they all run in my head. But the concept of how traffic isn't leads, traffic is not leads. Traffic is traffic. If you can convert traffic to leads, but a lead is somebody that you can actually connect with on an ongoing basis even after they leave the website. Somebody who's scheduled a call with you, somebody who's following you on some social media platform, or better yet, somebody who's subscribed to your email list. Those people are actually leads, because you can talk back and forth with them, and you can get to know who they are, what they want, what aspect of your business that they're interested in, and then send them that information that's pertinent to what they want. So all of that is to say that if you're just charging per hour, or you're trying to figure a way how to mask your rates per hour by charging per page, then there are some small benefits to that. But the overall point is, if that's all that you're doing, then you really need to ramp up your skill set a little bit so that you can help help your client actually connect with the people they're trying to reach. Come up with the ideas on, here, maybe we should put an email opt-in form on this page that says, here's the top 5 icebreakers if you have a hard time talking to your in-laws, or something like that. Or, this is in the family dynamics. I'm just coming off the top of my head. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm not a family coach. But the general idea is, if you come up with a concept that says, hey, you know what? Why don't you put together a little PDF that says, here's the top 10 things that cause problems between your mother with your mother-in-law, or something like that. Then then that this particular person coming to the site needs help with their in-laws or whatever, or the top 5 problems that cause your teenager never to want to talk to you. Don't do these things. What are they, and how do you fix them? So like, if you can come up with some concepts about how to make the page more valuable, then you can charge more money for the page. So it's not the act of cranking out the page that has the value to it. The value comes in with how can you actually make the page work better for your client. And like we talked about before, about like free website builders, if all the client wanted to do is put a website on the internet with words on it, and they're just stuck in their own thoughts, then so what? You maybe even turn that kind of a client down, because if they only have the budget, like if they only have like $100 or $500 for a website, say, heck, go build your own website and spend the $500 on ads or something like that. If that's all you've got. But like, if you want to talk to me about how we can actually use the web to grow your business, then that's what we're going to be talking about here. And the last point that I want to make about this, and I make this point all the time, this is not the first time, And but because it's such a critical point. If you want to raise your rates, if you want to get out of the endless, boring, tedious, exhausting toil of submitting proposals all the time and searching job boards for jobs that are like, $50 jobs or whatever, and then you're fretting over like, how in the world am I going to make money with all these people charging just $50 to build a WordPress site? We even did a video about the $50 WordPress site. That's not where you want to be. And you can ramp up your skills to the point where you're not just cranking out a website. Because if all you're doing is cranking out a website, the most you could possibly charge is whatever the other guy, whatever your client thinks is the amount of pain they would experience if they had to go build a Wix website or something. And so, that's not very high. But on the other hand, if you're going to say, hey, you know what, here's how we can actually get people to connect with you about this particular aspect of your business, and then you can educate them as to, your client can educate their client as to why it's a good idea to work together and how they can help and all these other things. Now you're generating leads. And we talked about how generating leads has tangible, measurable, actual, real value, And then, of course, once you have the lead, then you can, right there, that's a point where like a lot of people, a lot of business owners know if they get a lead, then there's like an X% chance, like a 10% chance or whatever, the lead is going to become a paying customer. And so you can do the math and figure out how many leads do I have to get before I get a customer. And then a lot of business owners know how much a customer can be worth financially to them because they know what kind of products and services they offer. And so you can start doing the math and figure out, look, there's real, actual monetary, measurable results that come from generating leads and getting customers and converting first-time customers to repeat customers. And that makes money for them. And if you're making money for them, then you're going to be able to command much, much higher rates. And so the last thing about all of this is you want you to be the thing that people are buying. If you're selling websites, you're not really hitting the high value mark. You need for you to be the thing that people are investing in. You want your client to think that you are the engine driving the business, and the website is just the tool that you use. So if you're thinking in terms of how much am I going to charge per page, or how much am I going to charge per hour to put a website together, then you're shooting a little bit below the bar. You need to raise the bar a little bit for yourself and think, what can I do so that my client wants to invest in me as opposed to invest in their website? Because if they're investing in you, then that does a lot of really good things. It gives you more money up front because you're a much more valuable asset than somebody who's just cranking out web pages, and it generates recurring revenue for you because you're going to be able to manage the stuff that you set up. And you're going to be able to work on a continuing basis with these clients, and you're going to be able to crank out. Pretty quickly you'll build a six-figure business without having to constantly search for new clients all the time. So that's what I wanted to say about the price per page concept, and hopefully that's pretty helpful. I don't know if anybody has any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments below, and I'll keep an eye on this and respond to them as they come in. And if you have any, if you're thinking to yourself, yeah, this sounds great, I really want to be able to do this stuff, but you're like, I don't know if I have the skills yet to be able to, put together, email automation or something like that, or I don't know if I have the skills yet to be able to put together a way for people to subscribe to my client services online, or you want to get into e-commerce, you want to get into email marketing, or maybe even more fundamental than that, you're like, yeah, this sounds awesome. I want to start a WordPress business, but I don't really know how to get started. I don't know what themes to use. I don't know where to host my sites. All of these questions are questions that we answer in the Double Stack program. So if this is something that is interesting to you, I would love to talk to you more about that as well. So you can schedule a call over at doublestack.net/call, and you and I can actually talk about these things and get you to the point where people are investing in you, and you're charging great rates for your time, and then so Steve's asking, how does Double Stack teach this? Yes, Double Stack. This is exactly what Double Stack is about. There's three things that Double Stack is about. The first one is, how do you get the tools to actually be able to ramp up your business? And by tools, I mean like, what do you actually use? Like what plugins, what themes, what hosts, how do you develop a website? How do you deploy a site to a live server? We cover that sort of stuff. The skills. Okay, now once you have the tools, how do you actually use them professionally so you know that you're doing a good job? So we cover the skills. And then the third component is what I refer to as your mindset. And the mindset is, how do I get out of the grunt work mindset of, you know, charging dollars for hours or charging dollars for pages, and get up to the level where now I'm actually consulting with a client and growing their business. And those are the three components that really will ramp up your rates and cause you to have, I mean, you can grow a six-figure business with, you know, without having to constantly find new clients. One of the biggest problems that WordPress freelancers have, or small agencies, is constantly needing to find new clients. I call it client hopping. And if you find yourself client hopping, this is one of the things that's kind of like a red flag that says, hey, you know what? I probably have the mindset of, I've got to find a client, build them a website, get paid, find a client, build them a website, get paid. And you're not actually staying connected and building these meaningful relationships with your clients. And oftentimes it starts with a skills thing. You know, a lot of people wish they could do it, but they don't know. And so that's what the Double Stack program is all about. So if that sounds pretty cool to you, give me a call. It's free. We just talk. And if it looks like it's a good fit, I can tell you how the whole thing works. If it looks like it's a bad fit, I'll point you in a direction to actually get you the help that you need for whatever it is that we uncover on the call. So awesome, guys. Thanks so much for showing up for this talk. And again, if you have questions, put them in the comments field below. Head over to doublestack.net if you think that you like this video, but you might not be able to show up every Tuesday and Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern time, and you want to get emails about the video replay. You can go ahead and connect to that email list, and we'll get you the video replays. So awesome, guys. Again, if you have comments, leave them below, and I'll see you on Thursday for another talk. Thanks so much for showing up.